What's up, y'all? Trendline boys. Let's just kind of get to it. There really hasn't been a huge change in the last time we were talking about this stuff. Um, really, just the base chart that most of this has gone off of. We can see here. Long story short, catch up, anyone up. We're essentially kind of here. I don't think we're coming down to here anyway. But the point is that this would worry me for long-term BTC trends, and for me personally, at the end of the day, if I was just focused on Bitcoin, I wouldn't care until I see something like this. Otherwise, well, what I would have done, well, the point is you take profits up here. Um, it's hard. It's hard to say without somehow construing it as financial advice. Anyway, but yeah. So take profits up here. That's what I did. How much do you want? It just really depends. It also kind of depends on the price action, the actual time that you have, and that's really something that you can convey to somebody else. What you really don't want to see is something like this or something like this, where you're getting rejected under something. This is a little bit different because you're going up on something, you're not really coming down and then getting rejected on it. So this is what we don't want to see, is coming down, boom, boom. Uh, so anyway, we're now here after all this other kind of stuff. So excuse me, 1 second. Ooh, excuse me for that. But yeah, so we see we get these perfect bounces on it. We got this channel almost held perfectly at the top. If we look at what it did before, it's kind of close to perfect. I mean, it really didn't touch it exactly at this top. So it does look really nice. We'll really see what happens here, I guess. In the last couple seconds, Bitcoin did drop down again. And so just show this, boom, this is where we were in the last video. We were at the take profit point multiple times. It all is questionable, though, when and where you do kind of do it. And it's just, everyone does what they want to do specifically. So we did have a big drop here. You had to take profit, boom. Then you had to take profit, boom, here again. And we can kind of see it increasing on this take profit trend line. So this is a little sketchy. In some circumstances, I'll kind of get into that in a little bit in a second. But we do see it take profit, but we are in such oops, excuse me, but we are in such a aggressive upwards trend that sometimes it can be a little bit difficult of when am I actually taking profits, and am I going to lose out on something? So, and sometimes you might. So it really depends on each individual person on how much you really want to sell out. Obviously, I think selling out on everything is completely stupid. Um, Unless you see a rejection of the price, and then I think that's a perfect time to do such a thing. Or for me personally, messing with alts, these are times to get out of alts. You might miss something personally, but for me, um, no, that was a weird way to say it. But someone else might miss out on something. I might miss out on something. It's happened before. But personally, I don't like to do it here because it's very risky, and I can kind of see this bounce here, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like this already. Is we can already see this upwards trend here, and I think this respected something else. Yeah, and so this is a pretty strong bounce here. It's a quite a delineating line between coming down, shooting up, and then fighting around it and coming down quite a bit again, getting shot down here. Maybe if I look at a shorter period of time, I can see something here. I'm not too concerned about it, but it shot up and then struggled, same thing, and then completed its downwards trend after it ended there. And we can see it's pretty good as an average if we were to put some kind of computer calculation. I think this is a really good average through a lot of this stuff. So that kind of gets to where we are now, and I feel a little bit sketch having arguably bounced on that and then come up, and then once again at the take profit, get wrecked again. We bounced slightly under it, boom, and now we're under it, which I really don't like. So I would expect here personally, I mean, we'll see, the RSI is so low, but 1 second. Oh, excuse me. But the RSI is so low. It's really hard to say to like get back in. I mean, really, like people could just buy down as they really want to. Um, I guess the one other thing I should say real quick is it was quite unfortunate that we got bought up here. I was really hoping that we would have gotten, like I said in the other video, sold down here and then pushed up. I think this would have been a lot stronger for where we are, and maybe enable us to push through this take profit point for so many people. But I also really was hoping to see this kind of thing and then just shooting back up also. But anyone that was looking at like the dollar index, you would have seen at the same time this is exactly pretty much I think right here when the dollar index got raped. So if we just switch over real quickly at 18th, I think at 22. Um, where's the D? Okay, it's supposed to be alphabetized, but anyway, the 18th at 22. Yeah, so the 18th at 22 is literally right here. So we're looking right here, 18th at 22. And then boom, within what, 22, 4? What's that? 6.5 hours. This thing tanks. So it's not more than 1%, but it's definitely an important area. We'll see what happens with the dollar. It does look like crap still, and it did have a nice rejection on this line. So, I mean, for me, at the end of the day, I don't really see how the overall trend for Bitcoin gets wrecked here. And I should have prefaced a lot of this, or all of this with this, is that I really don't see Bitcoin not continuing to go up, in the longer term, more or less. And this depending on how far, I believe, depending on how far and how hard Bitcoin goes down, we could see all. I said it in chat earlier. If Bitcoin goes to these two spots, we'll probably see all-time highs in the next couple days. And I believe if Bitcoin can, I thought this was an important spot, but this is an important spot. It's not as big, but if we can get there in the next about, what do we have? So what's that? One and a half, about 5.5 hours. I think this is a really important spot right here. As you can see, not only is it the tops of this here, but in a sense, it does glide along the tops of what we had before a little bit. And I mean, I could adjust this even down here, and it would give you a pretty decent average, which I think the averages are important. Perfection is, that's a human concept. Um, but I think this looks pretty good. Anywhere shooting down here, I think also looks pretty good, with the stipulation that you can't have a rejection here. So we do have the 4 hour whole moving averages, which I really do respect a lot. Um, and I think at the end of the day, if we do something like here, and then it looks like, oops, there, and then here, and then here, this, I mean, that's beautiful. We'll see if something like that happens. It's pretty ugly, but it even could, we could even say like here and then there, but it has to break through these upwards trend lines, which is the scary part if it does come down like that. But I do believe at the end of the day, I would say for people that are more long-term holders, for me personally, I'm still looking for that rejection on the bottom side. Like, we're looking for this confirmation on the top side after it comes up, which will also show another thing that kind of adds to that. Looking at BNB, even on the short term, I don't know how many people got in on this, but hey, you don't have to buy the breakup. If anything, maybe you just want to buy the confirmation to the downside when it's after it's already pushed over the area of resistance and you want to see that support. So, boom. And as everyone kind of knows from there, I mean, no matter when you bought, I think this was, honestly, I don't think this was 130. I think this was still like 160, something like that. But regardless, you still had a hefty profit. So getting back to Bitcoin real quick, I guess on one of my other charts, I did have a close take profit point for, let me see what the coordinates were. And the coordinates here were, it's not that bad, from 16K to 27.6. So I think that's a pretty decent range right there. I don't think I had anything on the, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, so let me show this real quick because almost consistently I've referred to this actually could be pretty bad we'll see what happens, but this could be, well, I don't think it'll be that bad, but it could be bad. So just to show, I think this was my Bitfinex from 5K to 19.8, and it's done wonders. It really, really has done wonders. It's actually been pretty surprising. And so if it's going to hurt anyone's eyes, let me just lower the background color a little bit, just a slight hue. And this has just been, it's been beautiful. It's been perfect. We can even probably make the line skinnier just to make it look, more specific, just to kind of get a better idea, because obviously the larger the lines are, the bigger the range is. But we can kind of see how beautiful this is in a sense. And with this, boom, we break up. Obviously, we never touched here again. I really like the breakdown here, but I really liked here. And then this looked really nice too. But this is one of the most beautiful ones. And then also when we came up, we almost came right back on it right there. And then as you can see here, we also have a touch. So I am a little bit worried on that. Obviously, we can also look at this here and say, well, we didn't actually hit the top here, you know, and that's fine. That's why I always say things are in ranges, and that's why everyone has take profit points. But this still looks pretty good. I'm not sure why I had this upwards trend line. I probably put it, oh, I think I just put it from these two places right here, probably on the 4 hour. Yeah, so this is the same upwards trend line on the 4 hours. So, and even with the 4 hour here, I mean, I think this even has more credence to it of why I think this is a strong area right here at about, was it 50K? More or less about 50K. It just looks like a strong area. I mean, if it gets sold the heck down to here, like if this gets sold down here in the next like hour and a half or on this 4 hour, maybe on the next one, and it can bounce here and just, it really doesn't have to put, it doesn't have to push up past a lot to really bring back a lot of buyers and worry a lot of people that might be waiting for a lower bottom on it. And it's definitely possible, just looking at it, if we did come down to there relatively quickly, it's definitely possible that this whole area is going to pose as resistance. But if we look at it in this respect, we're now looking at, so let's just say the start of the resistance, and let's say the bounce point, you really only have this kind of, obviously it's finite, but this kind of small area right here. So we draw this small area, and if you have a big bounce down, all you need is a nice amount of buying pressure, and then you're above this, and then once you ignore this, you have all of this room to consolidate on a push up. And that would just look so nice. You have a big sell down, you have a whole bunch of new buyers in that are probably waiting for that. I mean, there's probably another thing. I'll look at the other chart in a second at 50K, but then you have this whole area to just sit and wait. And you can even come back down here and you have this beautiful upwards trend line. So we'll see. I mean, this even adds more credence to it. I really like the BitMEX chart, and not maybe not so much the BitMEX chart, but I really like the choice because I have a lot of different BTC charts. Not all of them go to the current price, just because I have fibs at different levels and shift pitchforks on some and not the others. But from the 15 to 19, I've really enjoyed this one, and I'll just leave it up for a second if someone wants to see it. It's just 51.44, as you can see. Boom. Obviously, unlike the shift pitchfork, these don't matter. So, I mean, that's just kind of where I'm seeing it right now. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see how it doesn't go back up. The dollar's getting wrecked here, and I think this is really important to notice, and that the dollar's getting wrecked. And we've also seen a borderline perfect rejection on it too. Not even just on the line, but the obviously you can switch everything, but the smooth moving average on the 15. Then we have the whole averages right on the 30. I don't know if the hour has anything. And yeah, it's a stretch right there. So let's not go that far. Yeah, it's just very sketchy. And hey, rates go up, everyone has a pullback, and people sell out of stuff. Maybe it's possible Bitcoin has a pullback and it pulls down Tesla and all this other stuff. But with the dollar looking pretty bad, I mean, we'll really have to see what goes on with that. Though I would say at any point, I do think that all longer term, like all longer term stock market investments can be really risky, especially because you're locked into stuff. So let's say you have some sort of geopolitical kind of conflict, war, anything like that, or a heating up of a war. Obviously, there's always cold wars. You're going to be locked in what you're in, as opposed to being in a crypto space where and no matter what the time is, you have an alert, you have something like that, some sort of algorithms that look at news, anything that sends you an alert, not just a trend line. Then you're really more well positioned to be able to get out of what you're in, and depending on the amount that you're in, it should be a lot easier. So I don't know. I'm a lot bigger on crypto in that kind of sense, is that you have a lot more variability as long as you're willing to put the time and effort in. Anyway, so one of the last things, let's kind of just get back to this and look how sketchy this is in a sense. And I think we had a bigger dip while I was ranting on. Maybe not. No, we had a little bit of a dip. So we had a little bit dip back to 5.4, but we still need to break above, and now we're using more and more and more and more. So now we have to break obviously above here, and if we don't, we still have a chance around here or here, and either of those two spots pressures us to break up here, and if we don't, then we're going back to our spot. I personally would rather see that, even if we just look in the 500, I really like it. 500 smooth moving average is right here. It's converging on everything. It would be nice to see a nice Bitcoin drop. If you're not trading it, I think it'd be better than, hey, Bitcoin drops. Because think of it this way, people were saying in chat earlier, um, the supply is reducing, the supply is reducing. Well, in my opinion, the supply is only really reducing. Like, the supply has always been there. Like, or there's always been a finite supply, I guess, in a sense, and it's been expanding through mining. But the supply is, or the transfer, they're not really necessarily talking about the supply as like what there is, but the supply is what you can obtain through the open market or exchanging with other people. And the way I see it is that you want to get rid of paper hands. You want to get rid of your weak hands in a sense. So harder dips with hard rises are essentially the best ways to do it, because you're going to break out shorts, you're going to break out longs, you're going to get all of them liquidated, all of them selling, and you're only going to really keep the confident people that were there in the beginning, or the more conservative people, the people that were shorting only on a little bit that can get rid of their position, still lose a little money, or the longs that have just been 5, 10 at 20x, which is, I think 20x still pretty reasonable in Bitcoin, certain spots. They're going to be the ones that stay in there. But if not, what you're going to have is, in my opinion, is you're going to have something. They can say it's a currency, it is what it is, but you're going to have something that goes to like 300,000 and then just drops all the way to like 100,000, 80,000, because most of the people with it, they just want to make their money and take their profits, so they're going to sell. So, in my opinion, unless you have these sharp drops and these dips, you can't create, in my opinion, the essential. You can, but I think overall, in my mind, generally, if you want to create a situation where you have a lack of sellers and you have a bunch of people that want to buy, you need to get rid of the people that wanted to sell. And I think aggressive dips and aggressive buy-ups are the best ways to do that, in a sense. And not to say that the market is manipulated in that kind of sense, but even getting away from that, to say those are good things and to kind of welcome that. If you someone else could say, I just want a healthy correction. Well, that can be involved in a healthy correction too. It's a little bit accelerated in the rate that it drops, but that's still something in that kind of sense. So we'll really see what happens here. I mean, I definitely could be wrong in this, trying to come back down more. I think it just wants to come back down, but we'll really see what happens here. But I wouldn't be worried. Like, at the end of the day, I don't think there's anything to worry about if Bitcoin comes down, unless we see this here, and then we see a rejection here, and then maybe here. But at the end of the day, I'd be looking for something down here. And these are, in my opinion, great buy points at the moment. So take care, y'all.